When I look back at my career, where I started, the country I came from, the places I've seen and been to, I've realized that breaking is my destiny.
Welcome back to the Legend Status podcast, where today I am joined with another Canadian legend, a pioneer in the dance world, somebody who has taken Canadian b-boying and essentially put it on the map, is now with the likes of probably some of the best and most legendary b-boys in the entire world,
I'm
Mr.
doing good, and it's
B-Boy
such
Dyzee.
a
How are you, sir?
pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's just let's start. Like, for those who don't know you, how did you sort of just become known? How did you get into dance? Like, tell us the origin story of
I would say that
everything from the
my
beginning.
story actually it is long, but I'll give the quick version. Is I started in the first time I saw breaking actually was 1983 when I was 4 years old. Right, and my cousins, it was all over the TV. It was everywhere, and I was super young. I saw people doing it outside. I saw people doing it everywhere, and it's one of my first memories. And then my cousins come from the U.S. They came from Chicago, and they were visiting, and they were breaking, right. And so they started teaching me. They taught me three moves. Those three moves stuck with me throughout my childhood. I would do it like all the time, everywhere. It was just the worm, the backspin, and the coffee grinder, and then of course breaking disappeared, right? But I always
Yeah.
messed around with those moves, because I just knew how to do them. And then in 1995 or 1990, sorry, 1993, I saw it again. I was a punk. I was a teenager at that time, and then I saw people doing it, and it looked like a gang, it looked like a gang thing. Like every gang or crew of punks that hung out together, they had like one or two b-boys. You know what I mean? And so one of the guys in my large group of troublemaking friends, he started breaking, right? And so that's how I got into it, right? And I thought it was just a thing that people do. Like, actually, everyone kind of tried to break, but there was only like two of us out of all of our group of punk friends who actually knew what we were doing, right? Actually, I wasn't even one of them. I just kind of everyone was just messing around, and then I somehow ended up getting good at it. So I think that's basically how I got into it. And the crazy thing is that when I started during that time, it was on TV once in a blue moon. You would see it on Rap City, right? Or like
Right.
that's the
Rascals
MTV
or
of Canada.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You would Bag of Tricks. You would see these kind of
Yeah.
guys, right? And then only if you went to like a jam, not a b-boy jam, but like a party, right? Like like somebody would rent out a church basement hall, and then everyone would go just to party, and then that's where you would go and you would see breaking, right? So I saw breaking from the ciphers and the dark circles, and then I saw it like grow throughout my career, and I never knew that it was gonna become something like this, right? Like, so yeah, that's basically how I started.
That's so dope, man. And how did you, like, was there a time where you started to really take it seriously and go, I really like this. I'm good at this. I want to dedicate more time to it?
Yeah, I would say that that was 1994. That's when I was like, so I consider myself as a b-boy from 1994 because that's when I think I made the decision that I wanted to. I'm gonna do this for real, right? Like I like that I want to be a b-boy, but I was messing around since '93, and then obviously since '83. But I can't count that as when I was like I've been a b-boy since that time because I just knew some moves. So I would say 1994. I can't remember the date or I can't remember exactly when, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, right? Like, because I started to get into the circles. I started trying some moves, and people were like, "Oh, you break?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Yeah.
I feel like that's a very common story, you know?
The funny thing about breaking though is that like like I guess it was to have fun, but a big part of me breaking was I think it's because like when I was young I used to be into a lot of sports, right? But I was always very competitive and aggressive with every game, from hockey to basketball to everything. And so I always hurt people, when I played the game, since I was young, right? Like, and I don't know if you heard of Filipino basketball, but it's very dirty, right? Like, so that's
Right.
how I thought basketball was supposed to be played, right? Like, like I thought it was a contact sport, right? And so I that's how I would often injure people, and I'd always kind of feel bad. And then when I became a teenager, I started getting into trouble. And when you're a young teenager, and I grew up in a single parent household. I grew up with just my mother, so I didn't really have a father around. Even though I did see him every 2 weeks, the biweekly visitations, but I didn't really have anyone to teach me how to be a man. So that's why I looked to like the streets to teach me what it is to be a man. You know and so I was kind of like, it kind of started getting dark, because I got bullied when I was really young. When I was in elementary, on like grade 8, I got bullied, right? And so when I went to high school, I looked at it like, yo, in order for me to not be bullied again, I need people to respect me. And my idea of respect was fear, right? Like, people have to fear me in order
Right.
for them to, like, to respect me. So I started doing everything I could possible to make people afraid of me. I would push the limits of acting crazy and doing, crazy things, just so that people would be like, hey, don't mess with this guy because he's crazy, you know. And so, but I was really kind of hurting inside, right? And like, like I felt like very deep down inside, even though I didn't show it, I felt very inadequate, like I was nothing, like I was nobody, like, but outside I was pushing like I am somebody, I am this. And so when I got into breaking, it wasn't really to make friends, because actually I had a lot of friends, but it was more like because I kind of wanted to like bully people back. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to hurt somebody's feelings. It's kind of wrong to say that, but that was just kind of what I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, I just want to look for like a victim that I can like just see the pain in his eyes when I come out with a move and smoke him. That gave me like a sense of belonging or something. Not belonging, but a sense of like happiness or joy. You know what I mean? To see
Some
that I
validation.
can I can I can bring somebody down who is so cocky, and I can bring that person down. And so I trained for that, right? I trained
Yeah.
to be like, I need to like, and I didn't realize that that's what a b-boy was. You know what I mean? That's what how b-boying started with those kind of guys, like those type of kids. So that's how I got into
Man,
it. Same way like the originals, the OGs did, yeah,
I love that
yeah,
so much. And you know what I appreciate the most is your transparency and truly just a level of vulnerability, because I think there are a lot of people in our world today that are trying to like mask that they have that inside of them. I
yeah,
mean, I don't care how humble somebody is, when you are showing dominance or you have an opportunity to like feel strength, like that's probably one of the like greatest feelings that you could ever have.
yeah,
Obviously, as we
yeah.
grow, we tend to control it. We find ways
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
find that fulfillment in other ways. But no, I appreciate that transparency, because I think that's very rampant all over the world, let alone just dance.
Absolutely.
That raw competitive instinct in nature. And the other thing I want to touch on is Filipino basketball. Oh my goodness. I have played in many leagues, in many, and I'm a bigger dude, so people are pulling my shorts, people are hooking my arm. Like I've had it all. So I understand. I understand where that comes from. It's wild.
It's a contact sport. It's a contact
It
sport.
really is. So what is I've heard a lot of people say like, basketball and boxing are the national sports, but it's clear you guys just mix the two and, throw down. What does it mean to you, man? Like when I think about b-boys and the representation in Canada, obviously there's Begatrix. I'm sure there's others that don't come to mind for me right away, but it's you, man. It's you, it's Supernaturals. What does that mean to you when you hear that? Like, to be able to represent Canada on that level?
I think you know what, like this goes with the hip hop culture and what hip hop is about. Like in every this is why when you say it's b-boying, it's because I believe that like a big part of the essence comes from, well, it comes from a lot of from young boys, right? And young boys, especially the ones that grew up in the hood and single parent household, it's just in a lot of our nature, just our natural nature to wanna be seen, to wanna be respected, right? Like we want people to know us. We want to leave a legacy, and the reason why in hip hop, not just breaking, but in hip hop, of course, there's the four achievements of hip hop that everybody knows: peace, love, unity, having fun, right? But when you see breaking and battling, you don't see no peace, love, unity, or having fun. You don't see that because those are the achievements, right? But the actual, and I say this, and I've seen this many times, is the actual unwritten values, the universal values of hip hop culture is skills, because your skills is your language. It's how people know you, and that's the reason why we work on our skills. We want people to see we got these skills, right? Second one is a rep, right? We want to earn a rep, right? Like a rep, and you have to represent in order to earn a reputation, right? So rep is very important, to go out, show yourself, get down in front of people, and then start having people talk about you, right? You want to be known. You don't want to feel that young men don't want to be insignificant, right? And then after that, you want to earn your props, which is your proper respects, right? Everybody wants to get, like it's like I said, it's ingrained in us to be respected. So to be given props, the proper respects by either the people before you, to say, hey, yeah, you're official, you're dope. That makes your icons, they're your idols or stuff, to be like, wow, the person I looked up to is giving me respect. Or on the other end is the younger people are coming to you and saying, hey, I give you respect, you know what I mean, like, or how you've shown me, given me. That's kind of like what young men are looking for. And so people are saying, oh, who cares about that? But that's just in the human nature, right? Like no one, I never heard someone say, I don't care if anyone respects me. Right? Like no
Right.
one's gonna say
Right.
that, right? And then the last element, or universal value, is legacy. It's about leaving something behind, right? And so we all go through those phase. It's like a phase. Like each one is like a phase that you have to go through, the goal is to achieve it. And sometimes, like we can only get so far in certain ones, in certain places, right? Like maybe you have skills, but your skills aren't at the highest level. But to the general audience, you just the fact that you break your skills, you already have skills. You know what I mean? Like you have
Right.
more than someone who
Right.
doesn't break, so that's automatically good. And then earning a rep in your community or internationally, or and then getting props from who, right? Like who do you get props from? So I think for me, like representing Canada is just kind of like, that's just the natural pathway of what we all try to do. And even though I've done it in the sense where I've supernaturals, and we made a name by battling and doing all those things. I don't think that it's more important than how other people rep, because everybody has a place in hip hop. You know what I mean? Mine was just kind of to put Canada on the map, and let people know that it can be possible, and just open that door, right? Because I think that's what it is, right? Like I'm opening a door, and then people in different places, like in maybe Calgary, in Vancouver. Then once that seed of inspiration is implanted, then they start building in their scene, right? Where some doing something for their area, for their place, or for their sphere, which I personally probably could have never done, right? And so it's the interesting thing that I find about the culture, not just breaking but all hip hop, is that like that seed of inspiration can come from the worst person, but it still can do so much good. And that's what I think is
Right.
amazing, right? Like some of my heroes are probably where, I'm not saying I can't judge them, because I came from the same place, right? But they might be like, they could be the evilest person, one of the most evil people, but because of they danced, and their art, from what they of them battling or getting down in a circle, inspired me to become something and do something, right? Like, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what's amazing about this culture, that it can come from the worst person, yet it can do so much good, that inspiration. And so yeah, that's what I would have to say about that. I just did my part for Canada, and now I'm on to the next part, and the next, and the next, so
Right. Yeah, no, and I love the intention behind your thought, because I do think there is a phase in everyone's life where, yeah, legacy plays such a factor. And I remember when you're 19, 20, just sort of coming up, you're not thinking about what you're leaving behind. You're thinking about what you're
Yeah,
creating. You're thinking about who you're becoming. And so I think with that intention that you have with your thought today, especially as you preach that, I think that's truly part of the purpose of this podcast is to try to provide that knowledge for young, not even young, just future generations of trying to build something, trying to understand the phases so that you're not ruining future opportunities based on who you're becoming and how and the people who are influencing you, you know. It's
exactly.
incredible.
And this is the reason why I really love that you're doing a podcast like this and being able to talk about this. Because a lot of us, I think the reason why breaking hasn't got to the level that we could be, like in the sense of like how big the rap industry got and the
Hmm.
music DJ industry, and now the graffiti is selling for like in the art museums for $1 million. Like
Crazy.
it's insane. And the reason why we haven't got there, I think, is because we kind of started from the bottom. Like a lot of these values that we're talking about come from, like, so if you look at successful industries, it's like fathers passing on the knowledge of their business, their experience to their kids, and their kids are not starting from zero. They're getting all this knowledge, all this information,
That's
and then they're being able to build and not make the same mistakes. But we started from having making all the mistakes. So for example,
right.
I'm going to give an example, like the 70s and 80s OGs, right? These guys are like the from the streets, but they can't get along. They hate each other so much, and they just won't get along. They won't work together. They're not going to be friends. And so the 90s generation, right, which is the golden era, my
Hmm.
like we all get along, right? Like we all like cool with each other, right? Like like we battled when we were young, but
Of
now that
course.
we're older, we're like, yo, what's up? Like, like with Ground
There's a lot of
Zero.
love.
Ground Zero was the villains of breaking, and they're like the
Yeah.
coolest guys now that you've ever like I love these guys. All my rivals were like so close now. Like,
Right.
where before we hated each
Right.
other and now we're so close, you know,
That's cool.
because we don't want to be like the pioneers before us. We see how it's, I mean, the fact that they can't get along is a little bit toxic, right? And
Yeah.
so we're like, I feel like I don't want to be like that, right? And I think so. So we need to pass down to the next generation what we've learned so that they don't start from zero, right? And so that's why I keep pushing, the next thing. But I don't know if you see what I keep talking about these days, but I keep talking about that we need more businessmen, entrepreneurs in breaking. Like we need people to take the culture to the next level that are actually b-boys, because the ones that are have taken breaking to the level it is now are not b-boys, right? Which we very much appreciate the fact that they've made these events, they've done all these things, but to actually understand what a b-boy goes through and what what's in our heart, you have to kind of live it in order for you to know to want to help in that sense, right? Like, like, so
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's man, there's a lot to unpack that you said there because I first off, going to the 70s and 80s, I think a part of that is the lack of being able to record. Because people talk a lot today about how history continues to get rewritten. So it is very difficult for the 90s to appreciate the 70s and 80s because they're only seeing what headlines, they're only seeing the generally, in my opinion, the negativity that sort of broke everything down and the battles and the aggression where I think today, when we look at the 90s, I remember watching a battle of the year one time, and all the comments below the YouTube video was, can you believe all the respect that these guys are showing each other in this battle? And then you like flip to literally the next video, and people are like giving each other the finger and like being super like disrespectful and unruly.
Yeah.
And I understand
Yeah.
it's all a part of the game, but there has to
Yeah.
be the contrast. Like, I feel like we have to be able to see that.
Yes. Yes.
And the
Yes.
other piece that you really said that really I really try to put a lot of focus into is there is a lot of people who, like you said, there's almost a fine line between exploitation and like providing exposure. Because if you know nothing of the culture, nothing of the dance, if you've never got into a circle, if you don't know what the difference between a cipher and a competition is, like it's really hard for people to put on a jam for the people, like for the b-boys.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have seen, and I have even attended jams where I kind of went there and I'm like, there's something off about this. It just doesn't feel close to the heart or close to the soul, because generally of the
Mm-hmm.
people who are organizing it. So you're right. I think there's a lot of education that's needed, I think, behind that. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
just if you go too far left, now you're completely just exploiting the industry or trying to just make money off of it rather than
Mm-hmm.
actually like making
Mm-hmm.
impact while making money. Like it's okay to make money, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also to try to increase the reach and the impact and help people understand the true essence of hip hop, not just like G rap and like gangster shit,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah, yeah.
do you feel that Canada, like when we look at the states, they ruled the b-boying industry and maybe hip hop as a whole, but now I feel like Korea, Europe, like Germany and France and all these different places have sort of built their own identity behind b-boying and their scene. Do you think Canada has done that, like
Of
today
course.
when we're thinking about b-boying?
I would say yes, right? Like, of course, right? Because like the thing about hip hop and like specifically b-boying and yeah, and all hip hop is that it's really just street culture, like ghetto culture, right? Like and so that's why I don't want to apply it to a single race to say that this is a a race thing, because then I don't want to call any race ghetto, in ghetto, right? So,
Yeah,
but
we all
everywhere in
kind
the
of are.
world, yeah, if everywhere in the world has a ghetto, right? And that's the reason why they have like the street life, and everywhere street life exists, that's the reason why hip hop is so like enticing, like it's so inspiring to people from the streets, because they're like, I can do that. Like, I can hang out on the street and get down the street. I can write on the wall. I can like, freestyle. I can do all these things, and I don't need to get a club membership. You know what I mean? At a very expensive sports club where that I can't afford.
Yeah.
So Canada has its own unique way, and it shows in the way that they dance. Right? I'm not sure about all over Canada, but like the interesting thing about Canada is that there's I would say like a local government support. Like different practice spots are open, right? That are by recreation centers that the government supports those spots, and then people go and practice there. And a lot of places around the world, it's not really like that either, right? They might have a place, but it's like an outdoors, that the government says, okay, you can practice here, and so it's an open spot where everyone's practicing in this place. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
so Canada has its own, and then also the culture and the history and the people before, they kind of like pass down knowledge, and so Canada has like it created like Supernaturals kind of made it a little bit more popular, but we weren't the first to bring it out, like Bag of Tricks, and with the illusions, and Boogie Brats with the flow and the tricks and the transitions, right? And then we had super complex threading, and so we were bringing this other type of breaking to the world, right? Which is now like it's normal now. It's part of the foundation, right? Like, and but we and it's interesting because in the same way that the OGs were telling us, that what they invented and we didn't care. Now the same thing's happening to us, right? Like people don't care, which is okay too, because I can't judge people who don't who because that's how we were. So the same thing that we did to others, it actually came back.
Yeah, no, it's when I think about Canada, and it's funny for the viewers that are listening, they may feel that governments providing just an open spot for people to practice is not enough or is not really that big of a deal. But I can tell you
Hmm.
that when I was young, call it 94, 95, it was
Yeah,
near impossible to find a place to practice.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
people allowed us to, like, people would people we didn't even know danced would show up. You'd be like, you dance, and next thing you know, we're just in this gymnasium or there. So it was very difficult, I think, at the time. And I do
yeah.
believe that Canada specifically has made a lot of, we'll call it, progress to really help
Yes.
support that, especially obviously with Phil winning the Olympics and stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I got to ask you, because this is something that has come up a couple of times. So you are actually a Guinness World Record holder. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, me
And
and a few other Canadians from Toronto. Yeah.
tell me about it, what it is.
Okay, so it was I can't remember what year it was. I'm very bad. I think it was 2006. I think. And if you could look up
Okay.
my name, Karl with a K, Alba, on in world record, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records, right, for sure. And what it was at that time was my crew member. I still consider him crew now. I'm not sure if his Troy. His father passed away from cancer, and so he had this idea that he's going to uh, do a Guinness Book of World Records and try to raise money for cancer, right? And so we said, okay, we'll have it in a mall, and we'll bring judges, like Guinness Book of World Records, to monitor to make sure we're doing this, and we'll have the longest cipher, and 24 hours straight, right? And and so the Guinness Book of World Records actually does have some rules, that they have, right? So for example, it's not like you're allowed to eat, right? And you're allowed to like take a short rest. You know what I mean? And the way it works is if you dance, if you do it for 1 hour straight, you can have 5 minutes. So 60 minutes, then you can get 5 minutes for some kind of break, right? But you can also accumulate those 5 minutes. So if you say, okay, I'm gonna do 2 hours, then you can say, okay, now I have 10 minutes.
Get
Or if you
10
go
minutes.
4 hours, I get 20 minutes, right? So there's a strategy involved to how you do that, and so we kind of like we had the 10 people, and then I think we had 10 people, but one or two people couldn't make it through. They had to quit,
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
Yeah. And so it was tough, and we're like you end up kind of dying, like feeling like you're dying, right? But it's interesting because you take turns, right? You take turns, one person, one person, one person, one person. At one point you're like, oh, you're just trying to like do whatever, like you're not really trying to power, you just and then you have to keep moving. You have like you're not allowed to stop and just stand
Right.
there. You have to kind of like keep moving with the rhythm, and they have judges, right? So they warn you, they say, hey, right, you got to keep moving.
There
And so you're kind of like you have to so it's kind of, yeah, it was dope. Yeah, so we raised about $10,000 for cancer research. And yeah, man,
That's
it
a
was
great
it was
cause.
uh it was a good experience, definitely.
What, like, was that more physical or mental? Like, that really took it out of you?
It's mental, right? It's kind of like saying, like, like how long am I gonna do this for, right? Like, or right, like, and then you're trying to help each other, and then eventually, like, you have to eat, so you kind of like, like kind of like you have to like move, and then you take a bar, and you have to kind of like, you get sleepy, and you're like, okay, we're gonna go 3 hours, and then we'll take a 5 minute break, and then we'll try to accumulate it until we have like 30 minutes, and then we're like, hey, at 30 minutes, now we're gonna take a rest, right? Like our bathroom, like as soon as they say, okay, the time they count it down before the break, 10, 9, and you're still like,
Going
one
at it?
zero, the music turns off and everyone runs to the bathroom, or run, like to the bathroom, people lie
Crazy.
down, and they, you know what I mean, like, and so we had 30 minutes completely passed out. They woke us up, and they're like, you got to get back in like 10 seconds, right? Like, so you have to
Holy
get
crap.
back into the circle and get right into it. If you don't, then you're out, right?
Right.
So it's like, and then some people want to quit, but if the more people who quit, it becomes harder for the people who are left, right? Because
That's right.
as you take turns, you have to keep going in. So it's like, so it gets really hard, and you needed a certain amount of people for it to be like a cipher. Like I think it was like three or four
Right.
people can be left. So it was
I see.
it was really good. It was
That's
a
great.
super
That's so
interesting
cool.
experience.
I could only imagine. I remember when that first came up, I was like, what? I didn't hear of this. And then, yeah, I saw the 24-hour part. Do they judge based on the actual moves as well? Like, what
No,
if you
no, no.
just keep repeating the same thing? They're okay with
Yeah,
that as long as you're
you
moving and doing
yeah,
things?
yeah. And you're allowed to keep
That's wild.
repeating, and you're allowed to do whatever you're. It's just a cipher, so basically you can do whatever you want, right? Like, so it's like
Yeah.
it gets ridiculous after a while, because you're just like you're so tired, so you're trying to dance like to dance like super tired, and it's like it looks funny.
So You talk a lot about legacy. Offline, we got into the business side of dance, and how are you sort of pursuing that? How and I really want to try to give as much context and detail. I'm really thinking about other dancers, and I'll tell you, like I've had a lot of dancers on the pod, and it's always this sort of like sensitive subject when it comes to money or sustainability, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Yeah.
literally to me, and I say this respectfully to every person who I've spoke to, like we know that, in my opinion, dancers, specifically break dancers, are generally exploited. And I think all dancers are exploited,
Mm-hmm.
are not paid what they're worth, what their bodies go through in order to be able to put on that incredible show. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, I understand it's a sensitive topic where, hey, people we idolize might be picking up jobs or doing certain things, and that's okay. But tell us about what you're doing to sort of change that, and the impact that you want to make with the business
Sure.
side.
Sure. I've opened up a lot about this, and I'm one of the people that aren't afraid to talk about the money side of breaking. You know what I mean? Because and people were like, stop talking about money. Like break, you shouldn't earn money. But I'm like, but I've seen so many of the best people quit because there's no money. You know what I mean? Like, like in my crew, I had the most talented guys, and then they have like, like everything is good. We're going to be the best. And then all of a sudden they have like a kid or their mother gets sick, a parent
Yep.
gets sick. And then they need to work. They need to make money somehow. Right. And so it was like, I've seen it like continuous, not just crew members, but friends, rivals, people just like, and every time someone disappeared from breaking because of no money, that didn't bring joy to my heart. Like that made me like feel like sad, right? And so I was struggling, like, even though during the time where I was the top b-boy in Canada and Supernaturals was winning everything, there were days where you make a bag of money, you make a couple of grand or whatever, or not compared to today's standards where you can win 10 grand, right? But like
Right,
back
right.
then it was like, you were like, okay, you might get a gig, you might get a movie or something, and then you make a not a movie or a commercial or whatever, and so you have money. But after a few months, that money disappears, and then you go back to the stress, like this life of stress. Like where's the next money coming from? Where am I gonna get money and whatnot? And I started using my credit cards, and then I went down to like about a $30,000 in debt, in credit card debt, just trying to survive in the b-boy way. Not just buying myself stuff, but just paying for like gas, groceries, or
Yeah.
whatnot,
Just
making
living.
enough to pay off the minimum, just trying to live, right? And like, so I was like struggling so hard, and I said, hey, it's either I gotta do something else, quit and do something else, or breaking as an industry has to change. Because how can I be the number one b boy in Canada? We literally have an events office, where three of us working. We opened up our own office. We did all the events. I had all the city of Toronto programs for breaking. I'm judging the competitions. I'm doing everything. And in my opinion, at that time I was the number one most successful b boy, but I was still struggling, right? I was still like, like how could that be? And so that's why I said, okay, you know what? I looked at Korea and how Korea had like so much, like the b boys were driving nice cars. They all had their own studios, and I was like, it was on TV every day. Like you could turn on TV and then you could see breaking. Like like if you're like on the bus and the bus has a TV, you can see a battle on the TV. On the bus or on the subway. You're just like, what the heck? And so in 2009, I got married, and I was like, yo, after getting married, like things are changed a lot, right? And I'm like, what if we have kids and whatnot? And so me and my wife moved to Korea because that's where breaking was big. And I just moved there specifically because I wanted to understand why breaking is working in Korea and it's not working anywhere else in the world. And so when I moved there, thankfully, I got like a job with R16, right? Like, and I became the R16 global tournament producer, making the tournaments all around the world. And that was like my first like real job. And I learned so much about the industry of breaking. Like I saw that there was millions of dollars moving in breaking. You know what I mean? Like there was money, there was a lot of money. Everybody was getting paid except for the b-boys, right? Except for right? And I was just
Yes,
like,
man.
this is not fair, and that hurt me. But people were saying to me, well, yo, this is like, like you got to think what's best for the company, and whatnot. I'm just like, but but what about the B-boys, right? Like, that's what I was thinking. I was
Exactly.
like, they're right. I was like, it's not fair. And so as I traveled around the world, I saw all the different what we call b-boy hustles, like like little breaking things you do to make a living. And I saw it from people who had studios, or people who were teaching classes, people who were coaching, people who were street hitting, people who were crews that were doing shows. I saw every type of hustle there was, right? And then in 2016, R16 came to an end, right? Like the funding just abruptly ended, and so I kind of basically lost my job, right? And then I was thinking what to do next, and then I was thinking from all those trips all around the world, right? Like and learning about breaking as what people are doing to survive. I realized something, that a single crew, because what I've always seen is all the crews were splitting up, right? And the only crews that stayed together were the ones that turned their crew into a business. You know what I mean? Like that made a business for their crew, and that kept their crew together, right? So super crew, they started working with Jabberwockies, and so their crew can stay together, right? Because they're making money, and breaking is their job. And then you saw like the Ruggeds, they started doing theater performances, and then Jinjo, they did a lot of shows. So yeah, so I kind of came up with a way that a crew can stick together, and each person can take on a different hustle, but working together. Like all the what I've learned from organizing events, and teaching organizers all around the world how to become the top organizers. I came up with a format that I believed that can turn a crew into like hometown heroes, right? And so basically, it was like this, right? Like the way that the idea worked, right? Was I was like, hey, in my company, we have about like 40 people working, right? Like not my company, but the company I was working for, which was Cartel Creative.
Yeah.
I said, what if, and each person that was in there was like one person was a skater, I was the b-boy. There was another b-boy who's also a DJ, like all different kinds of like guys who were kind of like in the street culture, but together made a company, and they were able to make such a successful company, right, by organizing events. And
Right.
I said, what if we had like all b-boys that were, and we did all the different types of b-boy hustles together and worked together and made the best events and promoted the crew, right, like in the same way. And so to make a long story short, it would work like this. So imagine Supernaturals back in the day. We said, okay, instead of like organizing a competition, we're going to organize a showdown, right? The Toronto Supernaturals against like the Calgary Original Roots, right? We'll bring you guys, we'll come down. You organize a showdown in your city, and we'll organize one in our city. And we'll come down to your city free of charge and battle you, and we'll make it like a showdown, and we'll have together we'll get the judges. We'll talk all the trash that we need to talk about. You know what I mean? Like we'll hype this
Build it
up, right? We'll build it up. We'll have a format that we can both agree on, and then win or lose, all the money from this event, you can keep it. But in exchange, you come and battle us in our city, and you do the same thing, and we help us build our fan base. Because when Supernaturals was at the top of the game, everyone was like, "Yo, when are you battling next? I want to come watch you." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know when the next competition is."
Right.
So I kind of had this idea. I was like, "Yo, it'd be easy to sell." Right. And so that's kind of like, I started vlogging about it and talking about it, right, on my vlogs. And then this crew that I was coaching in Taiwan, named Dream Runners, they were watching it, and they were asked me, how do we do this here? What would it take for you to try it over here first? And so I said, okay. So I went to Taiwan, and then it became such a huge hit. Like every showdown we produced, it got bigger, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, until we set up the Dream Runners against the New York City, right? Like New York City Hit Squad. And this became such a huge battle that the president of Taiwan came to watch the battle, right? Yeah. The president, the mayor was there,
That's
all these
so
important
cool.
people. And because Dream Runners won in the last, so the way that it works is there's a 10-minute battle, and after that battle, whoever wins it wins the battle. But and then there's a short break, and then you battle again, and it's the first to win 3 battles is the winner. So it went to the fifth and final battle, and they won on the last round. Germaners won, right? And it turned them into celebrities, like national heroes. So by them becoming national heroes, that's how the school, they opened up the club. The club had the coaching, and it became like, yeah, that's how it became so successful. Yeah, so now Dream Winners has 6 breaking clubs, right, throughout Taiwan. 1,000 members, almost around 2,000 what's it called again, students, because they also like all their members go and teach in different places. you know and they also have over like they just surpassed 1 billion views because their social media segment is super awesome. They have an events team. It's crazy, right? Their social media is so big that they have a social media strategic partnership team. Man, yeah, it's like
That's
the most
wild.
successful crew.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so Dream Runners has become successful, like in as an empire, as a company. You know what I mean? Where all the original members can stay together, and they're all like working like like as the business grew from the showdowns, which positioned them as the top, crew, and heroes. Once you become heroes, the parents want to give you the kids. You know what I mean? So a lot of things that they had to do, that they really put in the work, is they said, okay, we're gonna have that. We need a good image. We need to, like, no smoking, no tattoos, like talking about confidence, talking about good relationship with their parents, like instilling good values. You know what I mean? So that's why the parents are all like, take care of our kids, like our kids love you, and we want them to learn from you, and so yeah, it's been like, I'm part owner, right? But they do all the work, you know what I mean? And so I just kind of like come in to help, and if there's a new department that's needed, then I kind of help with that, whether it's a strategic network or the events part, or yeah, I just help with the different parts of it.
Man, that must feel so fulfilling. I feel like that's an opportunity to bring clearly, art, community, business, because I do think for a long time that the sustainability of art was not really there. People made it, some got big and made a ton of money from it, the others didn't, and became accountants or became whatever, like did regular jobs, which, hey, all the respect to them. But I do think, especially where our world is headed today, like, do you feel that there was like a need for that, like creativity? And I just think about Jack Ma. He says a lot about how, like, so many jobs are going to be gone at some point in time from robots and AI, that what we should be
Hmm.
teaching our kids, though, is things like compassion, creativity. Is that sort of
Yeah,
where that came from as well?
exactly, exactly, right. It's kind of like, right, like well, breaking has survived, like with no money, for so long, like it just continues to be here, and even made its way to the Olympics. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy when you think about that, right? And so I believe that, yeah, we're this is just, it's like kind of like coming up with it. My journey starts from trying to understand why breaking can't make money. That's the reason why I moved to Asia, and then finding out, okay, it can make money. There is money to, okay, how do we make it make money? And now where I'm at is, okay, what we've done, how do we spread this across the world? How do we make other people get into this? And that's why I'm pushing people to get into the business side of it, because I believe that as people get into it, we're all gonna eventually reach the same place. There's so many, like, judging systems opening up now. I don't know if you know, but I opened up the judging system in 2010. Like, I launched the first judging system through R16. Do you remember R16?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, some great
Yeah, yeah,
gens. Yeah.
yeah. So we launched a judging system, and now that kind of led towards more systems being made, right? And then that led to the Olympics, right? So I think that, like, what where I find myself now is, I just want to open up doors. You know what I mean? Like carve a path, and show what can be done. So, for example, I also made the first breaking shoe. So that's another one of my businesses that I do. I sell
Nice.
shoes as well.
Do you have
So
one
another
handy?
one of
Do you
my
have one handy?
businesses. Yeah, I have the
What is it called?
right. Well, right now this one was named after me because my business partners wanted to. They said that they wanted to make sure I'm not gonna just run and they said and they want to make sure that I'm putting my name behind it, right? So I said okay, but then now we're opening up another shoe because I opened up another factory or I'm working with another factory. Sorry, I don't own the factory in Philippines, right?
Those are dope.
So yeah,
Very
so this is
nice.
what they look like. Yeah. And so we're starting we're coming up with another model. Actually, it's going to be launching in a couple of days. Actually, not in a few weeks. Actually, yeah. And another interesting thing
Very
too is
cool.
that I wrote a book about the b-boy hustle, all the different hustles in breaking, like how to make money from it, like the things that I didn't know, so I wasn't as successful. But as I traveled around the world, I met people who do it full time, and I learned about how much money they make. And so I kind of wrote an ebook about all the different hustles in breaking, leading all the way to the entrepreneurial side and the business side and dream runners and how it works and coaching and teaching. And so I'm going to be releasing this book probably by the summer. You know what I mean? Like this ebook, I already had people read it, and then I did a second revision, and now I'm putting it. I've just been so busy recently because we're also having this the so it's the same way that Dream Runners became popular. Now we're trying to build the league, right? We want to make the FIFA of breaking, right? Because I feel like this is the only format that it can be if so. For example, if there's Battle of the Year UK Champs R16, all these big events are competing with each other, right? But if we adopt kind of like the FIFA style, not the FIFA way, but the FIFA style,
Right.
where there's like different clubs in every city, everybody can kind of
Gotcha.
rise together. You know what I mean? Because it's all about building fans in your own hometown, right? So it's kind of like we're having in the Philippines we're having the Metro Manila Breaking Club, which is something that we've launched. We just recently launched, and then the Dream Runners Taiwan is going to have a showdown in the Philippines, right? And so we're working to build the fan base and unite the community, and then the rematch will be in December in Taiwan, right? Like yeah, so that's the first two
Man.
first two cities teams that are battling, and then we're going to add more cities one by one. Working specifically with breaking schools and breaking clubs like that. Yeah,
Man, I love that. I feel like that has a little bit of, a touch of like the UFC where Dana White like brings it to Africa and
exactly,
brings it to Canada and all these different places. And it eventually
exactly.
not only increases the art, but it just gives it as much exposure as possible. And it gives an opportunity for people in communities that maybe people just have never heard of or don't know of an opportunity to shine and show. So, man, that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I gotta cut us short now, but man, that is, I think today was one of the most probably intentional, well thought out, and it just seems like you are so goal focused. Like it just seems like that plan is kind of coming together. It looks like you're putting in a lot of work. Obviously, if you're willing to relocate your family to places to really make some stuff. I have to have you on another time though when I
Sure,
like we're just
anytime.
moving right now, so then I'll have a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit more
yeah.
space. So uh, I'd
Cool.
love to have you on because there's so much other stuff I want to ask you about. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking about Seven Commandos. I'm thinking about all these different things that that you do. So I appreciate you
Cool.
so much for jumping on and your patience through all of our technical difficulties, we'll call them. But
Yeah, no worries.
we got to stay connected. Tell people, how do they find you and how do they support everything that you're doing?
Yeah, so my website is www.dyzeediaries.com, Dyzee diaries.com. That's just about me, but the shoe website is Dyzee Threads with a Z at the end.com. My handles, the same, those are my handles on Instagram and social media. And I'm always open to anybody, can hit me up anytime. If you have any ideas or things, I'm always open and down to talk and give advice or think of ideas or hear out ideas and stuff like that, because I think that's what's needed. If more of us are doing that and making time to do that, then we wouldn't have to, we can work together rather than hustle individually and fight over pieces of pies and crumbs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, that's facts, man. I appreciate you so much. And I really think you have the focus in the right direction for the community. to have it sustainable, to have it grow. And I mean, what you said, I loved it so much. Like breaking has survived with no money. And it's crazy that it has. And I know there's a lot of people out there that would even be listening to this and going like, oh, it's not about making money. And it isn't. But to keep certain things alive, I do think it needs to be preserved and needs to be sustainable. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, Karl, man.
Yeah, man. Thank
We'll
you for
chat
having
very
me.
soon, okay? Thank you.